Now here's a perfect example for this, so we can illustrate it. Here's creation week. Day 1 through 6, God created the heavens and earth, and all they're in, and on the 7th day he rested. Now in the latter years, he said a day, he also told us a day is as 1,000 years. So 4,000 BC, right there at Adam, starts here. It clicks down to 3,000. 3,000 starts here, clicks down to 2,000. 2,000 starts here, down to 1,000 beginning here, all the way down to 0. And the Lord was born here around 3 or 4 BC. And there, time stops going backwards. It starts going forward. AD, this is BCE, and this is AD. Or I still like to call it BC and AD. The evolutionists have changed all this, you know. But anyway, this is about 0 BC right here, and time's going forward. From here to there, 1000 AD is right there. 2000 AD is right here. Now, then Adam is here at 4000 BC. Along about 2000 BC, Abraham was born, the first patriarch. Our father Abraham was born. And then about 2,000 years later, Yeshua was born. And then about approximately 2,000 years later after that is where we are today. Now from Adam unto Abraham, 2,000 years is the same. That is 40 Jubilees. From Abraham to Yeshua is 2,000 years, or 40 Jubilees. From Yeshua to the present day, to God's rest, to where we are right now, approximately where we are right now, is 2,000 years, which is another 40 Jubilees. There's our 120 Jubilee years all over again right here. Right here. Now, what we're looking for is a Jubilee. So what do we have that looks like this? In our world history, within the last 100 years, what do we have that looks just like creation week? It looks just like the latter years. It's the 6-Day War, the 1967 6-Day War. In 6 days, there was war, and Jerusalem was reunited on the 7th day. Now this looks identical to the creation week and the latter years and the 6-Day War. They all look just alike. But we need more witnesses. We can't just use the assumption that we have a blueprint likeness laid here. It's just like a true transparent blueprint likeness. We can't use that. We need more witnesses. So we need to start counting some of these years and to see how they fit and how they fall. We're going to start out assuming that the 6-Day War in 1967 is the blueprint likeness of the creation of the latter years. We're going to call that Jubilee year number 1 and see what happens here. So if we'll take 1967 and just deduct 50 years off of that, see what the next one comes up to be, see if it's anything important or a dynamic year of any type that might appear to be a Jubilee. So 1967 minus 50 years brings us to the 1917. This is the year the 400-year Islamic rule ended. This is the Balfour Declaration. This is the year that General Allenby came in there. As a matter of fact, I think they even had patches, wing patches on their uniforms as they flew over Jerusalem. A very symbolic thing. This definitely looks like a Jubilee year. We're going to call this Jubilee year number 2. Now let's take 1917 and take another 50 years off. 1917 minus another 50 years brings us to 1867. This is the final emancipation of the Jews in Austria and Hungary. That's definitely looks as though a Jubilee year. Now, these dates were not just dreamed up. They were actually taken off a website from the Division of Israel Foreign Ministry. Anybody can go to this website and get all these. Now, let's go a little further here. It's 1867. If we go ahead and click off 50 years all the way back, it'll take us exactly to 333 BC. 333 BC just happens to be the year that Alexander the Great, who was called the second beast, described as a he-goat with one horn, conquered the Medes and the Persians. The first beast, which was described as the ram with 2 uneven horns. It brings us back to this right here. Now, we've been going backwards all this time, but we need to see what's in front of us. So let's see what the next Jubilee year would be. We'll go to our latest known Jubilee years, 1967. We're going to add 50 years to that. It brings us to 2017. So it's in the future. How can we find out? Is it or isn't it? We'll use just a little bit of logic. We'll go back to Daniel's 70th week, and we'll use a little bit of logic to determine this, for God to give us the answer like he did with the manna week here, or the manna week date. Okay, 2017. Now this is a given here. We're obviously in or near the new millennium, which means we're near 6,000 years from Adam to the present. That's a given. We all know that. We've discovered that 120 Jubilees equals 6,000 years, which means that the next Jubilee is most likely the 120th one, which is the Lord's Jubilee, since we're around 6,000 years. So, and that's the time of restitution of all things. So let's go back to Daniel's prophecy now and apply what we know. Daniel said, from the going forth of the commandment to restore, 70 years are given to make an end of sin and to anoint the most holy. So from that commandment to the millennium rest is 70 years. And we're saying that this millennium rest possibly is a Jubilee year of 2017. Well, how do we determine that? Did some commandment go forth 70 years before 2017, all the way back down to here? If it did, this would validate 2017 both as the next Jubilee year, and it would validate it as the 120th one too, the Lord's Jubilee, since we're at 6,000 years. So this commandment that went forth, it should be a major thing right over here. Why? Because that would be the event that starts this countdown, Daniel's countdown of years to the Lord's return. That's going to be a major thing right here. It's not going to be something done under a bushel. It'll be a major thing. So 2017 minus 70 years, all the way back to here, equals what? 1947 is exactly what it computes to be. On November the 29th, 1947, moved to action by the horrors of the Holocaust, the UN voted to divide Palestine into Jewish and Arab states. Jerusalem, it said, would belong to the world right here. The fig tree nation has become a state again, has become a country again. This is the fig tree nation, Israel. That's well known. Now, Matthew, here's what the Lord said about it. Matthew 24 said, now learn the parable of the fig tree, Israel. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, you know that summer is nigh. So likewise, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation, ours, will not pass 70 years till all these things be fulfilled. Now here are the dates again. 1967 is our one known Jubilee year, plus 50 years brings us to 2017. Daniel's the 1947 fig tree nation, plus Daniel's 70 years, also brings us to 2017. And I don't consider that a coincidence. So here we have our Daniel's chart. We're going back to our Daniel's chart, and we're just simply going to lay in the years. November 29th, 1947 is the starting point when the commandment went forth. Now, we're not talking about when God made it happen. God made it happen in 1948. The scripture says specifically from the going forth of the commandment. The commandment went forth here in 1947. Israel became a nation again in 48, but the commandment went forth here. So 1947 plus 70 years comes to 2017, or God's rest. The rest begins. The next line was from the going forth of the commandment unto the Messiah will be 70 and 2 years, that's 69 years. So from 1947 plus 69 brings us to 2016, to the end of tribulation, the Lord's return. The next line, or the prophetic baseline, it says after 62 years, so 1947